Hello guys and welcome back to another requested tutorial video. Now today we're going to be taking a look at Windows ME, and this comes as another video request by Ken, and he actually suggested this very recently on my Windows 2000 install tutorial video, which I believe that I uploaded just under 1 week ago. So yeah, that's what we're going to be taking a look at today. And if you're not familiar with what Windows ME is, Windows ME was the last operating system release in the Windows 9X series of operating systems by Microsoft, and it was this series of operating systems that were based off of the Windows 9X kernel as opposed to the Windows NT kernel, and they were kind of run on top of MS-DOS. It wasn't until Windows NT where Microsoft was able to make a whole separate operating system that did not rely on MS-DOS at all. But Windows ME still relied a bit on MS-DOS. They tried in this operating system to kind of move away from MS-DOS, as they kind of wanted to make it look like Windows 2000, which it does actually. It looks very reminiscent of Windows 2000. But this is sort of the home edition of Windows 2000. And this was again back before Windows XP and modern versions of Windows, where we have just one single release, but we have a home edition and a professional edition of that same release. Even Windows 8 and I think Windows 10 today, we still have a standard Windows 8 version and a Windows 8 professional version. Well, back in this time, Microsoft actually had two separate simultaneous releases at one time, and one of them was for the home edition, one of them was for the professional edition. And at this time, Windows ME was the home edition, Windows 2000 Professional was obviously the professional version. And Windows ME basically tried to take Windows 2000 and make it based off of the Windows 9X kernel, and try to do that and make it more targeted for the home user. But yeah, so that's basically a brief little history. Let's just get right in to the Windows, or to this tutorial. I'll probably talk more about this later, but so yeah, let's just get right into it. Of course, I'm going to have all the links, as always, you're going to need down below, which is just going to be a link to the Windows ME ISO image, as well as the floppy boot file. I also probably should mention that I am doing this with the retail version of Windows ME, as opposed to the OEM version. I'm just going to put both of those links down below, so you can choose which version that you want to download. But in this video, I'm going to be using the retail version. But anyway, let's just jump right into it. So we're going to click on Create a New Virtual Machine. As always, I'm doing this in VMware Workstation 11, but you can do this in whatever virtual machine software that you have. It pretty much works, pretty much the same. It's just that this whole virtual machine creation process is a little bit different. So here in VMware, we have two options when we start off. As always, we have the typical or the custom. It's usually easier to just go with the typical option, and it's always easier to go with I will install the operating system later. And for the guest operating system, it's kind of obvious. You're going to have to set this to Microsoft Windows and the version as Windows ME right here. And give it a name. I'm just going to leave it at Windows ME. You can change it if you want to. And for the maximum hard drive size, I always like to store it as a single file. And I'm actually going to bring this down to 4 gigabytes. I don't really think, actually we'll just leave it at 8. I'm not really sure of the minimum requirements that Windows ME needs to run, but I'll just give it 8 gigabytes just to be safe. And we'll click on Next, and now we click on the Customize Hardware, and 256 megabytes and one processor should be plenty for a Windows 9X version of Windows. And all we have to do is go down to the new CD/DVD drive and use ISO image file, and you're going to want to browse to that Windows ME, either the retail or the OEM version. Again, I'm using the retail version in this video, but both those links will be down below so that you can choose which one that you want. And basically the only difference that I can tell between the retail and the OEM is that the retail version was the one that was sold in stores, but the OEM version was kind of bundled with like a computer when you bought it. So I'm guessing that it came with that, but I'm not sure if like the operating system is any different, at least in this OEM version. But again, I'm using the retail version here. And since this is a Windows 9X series of operating systems, we're going to have to add a floppy device so that we can add a Windows boot disk. And that's basically so that we can boot into DOS first and then load the installation files from there, because this CD is apparently not bootable. So what we have to do is click on the Add button down here and click on the floppy drive. And we're going to use a floppy image. And we're going to browse to that floppy image that I'm also going to have down below. And you want to make sure that Connect at Power On is checked. This is very important, as you obviously want to make sure this is connected when you first turn the machine on. And we're just going to click on the Close button and Finish. I have heard that there are some bootable Windows ME CDs, but the one I have here and the one for the link down below, at least for the retail version, is not bootable. So I don't really know if you have one that is bootable, you're not gonna have to worry about this whole floppy drive stuff. But you know, that just depends on like what you may or may not have. But anyway, what we're gonna do now is just click on Power On this virtual machine, and it's going to begin the startup process here. And it's just going to basically load all of the basic drivers here, and we are in MS-DOS now. This is on, or this is booted off of the floppy drive. So the first thing that we have to do is type in fdisk and press enter. And you also, whenever you get presented with this, you want to make sure that you press Y on enabling large disk support. And this is very important because this just basically allows you to use hard drives that are larger than 512 megabytes. As if you don't do this, you're not going to be able to do that. It's only going to, or it's going to max out. I think it's going to max out at 2 gigs, which is obviously not what we set the hard drive size to. You know, we set it to 8 gigs. So you want to make sure that you press Y here. And then you want to press 1 to create a DOS partition, and then press enter. You want to create a primary DOS partition, so just press enter again. And it's going to verify the drive integrity here, which should not take that long. And then you want to press Y on using the maximum available size, so just press enter. It's going to continue verifying the drive integrity, and you want to just press escape to exit fdisk, and you want to restart the virtual machine. Now in VMware, to do that, you want to press the Control-Alt keys at the same time to get your mouse back, and you want to go up to the menu bar up here and press this little reset icon up here. And when you do that, the virtual machine is going to restart. So I would like to point out that you will want to take note of this thing that says drive R here, this line right here. This is very important, as this is the actual drive where the CD drive has been loaded into, and this is what that the virtual machine sees it as. So now yours might be different. I have mentioned this, I believe this was in my Windows 95 video. You know, yours might be different. I think VMware always uses the R drive, but if you're using something like VirtualBox, it might change the drive letter on you. I'm not really sure how that works, but you just want to make sure that you know what drive letter that is. And the next step is going to be to format the virtual drive. So to do that, just type in format C:, and Y. And as you see, it is going to format, that is 8 gigabytes right there. So obviously enabling large disk support did work, so that's very good. And we're going to press enter, and we now have a formatted drive. So we're just going to run setup here, and it's going to perform a routine check on our system. So just press enter, and it's going to run Microsoft Scan Disk. And now it's going to begin the Windows ME setup process. Now, this screen looks very similar to the Windows 98 setup process. I don't think they really changed it that much. But yeah, this whole screen just looks very similar. It says that it will take 30 to 60 minutes, but that's kind of estimated for actual hardware. If you're using a virtual machine, it's probably not going to take that long. You just want to go through here, accept the license agreement, and type in your Windows ME product key. And I'm also going to have this down below, since this is abandonware. I can obviously provide that as well. So I'm just going to type one of those in. So once you've entered your Windows product key, it's going to ask you which directory that you want to install Windows to. I would just recommend going with the recommended option, which is C Windows. If you were like dual booting this or something like that, then you can use this option here to change which directory that it installs to. But for now, and I think for most people, this option would be fine. So I'm just going to leave it at that and click on next. And now it's going to check for installed components. And now we get to choose which version, or not which version, but which type of installation that we want. So we have 4 options here: typical, portable, compact, or custom. And I'm just actually going to go with the typical option, just to make this a little bit simpler. But if you wanted to go with one of these options, like if you want to save disk space, or if you're on a portable laptop, these options would be good for you. Or if you just want to change all the aspects of the installation, you can go with the custom option. But I'm just going to select typical. And now you're just going to want to type in your name. I'm just going to leave the company field blank. I don't think you have to type that in. Yeah, you don't. So, alright. And now it's going to ask you to, okay, let's see. Some Windows Millennium Edition components require extra disk space and will not be installed unless you select them from the list. I'm going to actually go with the second option here, so that I can see what it wants to install. And yeah, here we can choose, what that we want it to install. So I'm actually going to choose the desktop themes, and we'll choose the system tools, and why not web TV for Windows, and yeah, we'll just get all that and just click next. And we'll choose we are in the United States. If you're in a different country or region, you can change that here. And we are in the Eastern time zone, so I gotta find that on here, right there. I'm going to click on next, and it's going to ask you if you want to create a startup disk. Now, as I mentioned with startup disks all the time, if you're using a virtual machine, I don't really think a startup disk is necessary. But if you're doing this on like a real computer, this would be something that you might want to consider doing. In case that something goes wrong, you can always use this to boot up to Windows. But for a VM, I don't really think it's going to be necessary. So I'm just going to click on the cancel option, and we're going to actually have to remove the floppy disk from the drive. So you're going to want to press Control-Alt to get your mouse back, and go down to the bottom right, and right click on the floppy drive icon and click on disconnect. And when you do that, you can go back and click on OK. And now it's going to begin copying files, so just click on finish, and now it's going to copy all those files over from the CD to the Windows installation folders. So yeah, this is probably the longest portion of the installation. Everything else has been pretty simple so far. So yeah, I'm just going to pause the video here, and I'm going to come back once the installation has finished. Alright, so the installation has just finished up, and we are now going to click on the Restart Now button, or you could, wait out the 15 seconds if you wanted to. And we're going to be here at the Windows ME boot screen. So we're just going to wait for this to finish up, and now it's going to update our configuration files. And now it says it's going to continue to load Windows. So I believe we have a little bit more to do. It's going to, it has to set up hardware and finalize settings. So now it has to initialize the driver database. Now remember back in the setup, it said it was going to take like 30 minutes. It took longer than I thought it was going to, but it didn't take 30 minutes. So but if you're doing this, as I mentioned, on like a real computer, it might take 30 minutes depending on like how fast that your processor is, or like how much RAM that you have, and things like that. But there's of course a lot of different factors into this. But so I guess while this is doing this, I can talk about a little bit more history of Windows ME. I kind of touched on this at the beginning of the video, but this was released on September 14th, 2000. And like I said, it was the last Windows 9X release. And yeah, I believe this was the first version of Windows to include the first version of Windows Movie Maker. It may have been Windows 98 SE, but I think it was this version. we'll see how that looks once we get into it here. It also came with Windows Media Player 7 and Internet Explorer 5.5. And basically what Microsoft wanted to do with this was to take everything from Windows 2000, like the whole look and feel from Windows 2000, and bring it over to Windows 9X. Bring it over to that kernel and bring it, or make it cheaper, obviously, and target it for the home user. And that's kind of what this whole release was intended to do. But this had a very short shelf life. It only lasted over a year. I actually read a little bit of history on this. They actually at one point planned to make this the first consumer version of Windows NT, but that never really worked out. And they had to, kind of push that off into Windows XP. And yeah, so this was kind of, I guess it wasn't really what they wanted it to be. And so yeah, now it's just detecting non-plug and play devices. So we'll see. It says estimated time 10 minutes, but Windows ME wasn't everything that Microsoft wanted it to be. They kind of had to push a lot of this stuff off into Windows XP, and because of that, this was considered a failure. A lot of people consider this to be the worst version of Windows ever, and mainly because it can be very unstable at times. If you've talked to anyone that's ever used this version, they'll usually talk about how it always crashes and how it always it doesn't really work properly. And I think that's because they kind of overloaded it, putting like all of the Windows 2000 stuff in there, and they were kind of planning it, to work off of the Windows NT kernel, but they didn't work out. So yeah, and they actually provided support for this up until 2006, which was the same time as Windows 98. So this did not get any extra support, even though that came out 2 years later than Windows 98. They still, canceled it off, or closed support off at the same time as Windows 98. Kind of funny though is that Windows 2000, which was released a year before this, actually gained support until 2010, or I think it was 2010. So kind of funny how that gained more support from them. But anyway, so now it's finished doing all that. We're just going to click on the Restart Now button, and it is going to hopefully reboot for the last time. I think that is pretty much everything. Just like in the Windows 2000 video, I will show you guys how to install VMware tools, as I think that just kind of helps you guys that aren't, or that are having problems with that, as Windows 2000 had, a few issues with getting VMware tools to work. We'll see if there's any issues in here once this boots up. And alright, so it looks like we're going to have to do a little bit more with the detecting hardware. It says that we have still 10 minutes left, but now it says that it is sending up all those devices on the right there. So again, this usually doesn't take so long. It goes, as you can see, it's going pretty fast since we're in a VM. So I'm gonna see if this will finish, and if not, I'm probably gonna have to pause the video. All right, so we got this a little error message. It seems like it says MSG SRv32 has caused an error in kernel 386.exe and will now close. So we're just going to, I guess we're just going to click on close, and it also says that run DLL32. I don't know what that was about. We'll see if it has any effect on the final operating system. But I don't know what those errors could be. It could just be something I get. That does happen sometimes with these Windows installations, and now we get a Windows 3.1 style error. So we'll just click on close again, and we'll click on close, and I'm just going to basically try to ignore all those errors. It's going to keep coming back up. Alright, so yeah, I don't know what those errors were about, but we're just going to click on the Restart Now button, and I'm just going to hope that everything works out okay. Again, as I was saying, that could have been just something that happened to me only. It might not happen to you guys. I don't really think it's supposed to happen, but it looks like it's kind of stuck here. I don't know what it's doing. Oh, there it goes. We'll click on End Task. Alright, so it looks like it's now going to do a scan disk on the local disk C. So it says that there was an improper shutdown detected. So I'm just gonna let it run through this. Hopefully it'll. Okay, it just finished up, and we're gonna log in. Hopefully everything went well. Yeah, it's gonna. Okay, actually, it's just gonna I guess finish up the same thing as before. So actually, it's just setting up the following items. I think it did all this before though, so I don't know what it's doing again. Maybe it'll work this time without those errors. So yeah, I don't really know what those errors were about. You know, again, I'm kind of hoping it's just something I got so that you guys don't get it. But I guess if you guys get that same exact thing, don't really worry about it, as it seems to not affect anything, at least right now. Hopefully we'll be able to boot up into the desktop. Okay, but I'm just gonna pause the video now, let it finish up doing this, and I'll be back once it has finished. Alright, so now we have to do hopefully just one more restart. I feel like that I've said that like 3 times in this video, but we're just gonna click on restart now. And yeah, I think that's, I don't know what else that would have to do, so I think that's going to be the last time. And so yeah, this is the Windows Me boot screen, if you guys don't know what that looks like. And we're just going to wait for the desktop to pop up. And we're going to enter in our password, which I don't think that I put a password, so I'm just going to click on OK. And it's going to update system settings, very similar to what Windows 98 would do when you first log in. It normally does this. So, and there we go. There is the Windows ME desktop. For some reason, it has like this, just like gray background. I don't really think it has that normally, but I guess it does this time. Or I guess maybe Windows ME has that by default. You'll see we have the Windows Me Millennium edition on the sidebar here. So that's one of the things that I'll do a WinVer and I'll show you. Yeah, this looks like again very similar to Windows 98. So one of the things that hasn't changed. But let's just see what happens if we put in the VMware Tools CD. So we'll just yes to override the lock. And we'll see what happens, because this may just like already install normally, or it may give us an error. And if it gives us an error, then I'm gonna have to find what the error, or like a solution. And it looks like it's just going to let us go through the installation normally. So I'm just going to click on next. We're going to go with the typical. Actually, we're going to go with the complete to just install everything. And we're going to click on install. So I guess that this version of Windows ME. Now again, this is the retail link down below. I guess that it works normally with VMware Tools. So that's going to give you guys, like proper. I'm going to have to override the lock again, I guess. An eject was required. No. Okay, let's just yeah. See, this is what I'm talking about with Windows ME. Let's just click on escape. We'll click on finish, and we will restart. So yeah, that's going to give us proper 1080p resolution and full colors and things like that. So yeah, hopefully after this restart we should have that, and yeah, we'll just see how that looks. So VMware is giving me this error where it says that the virtual machine cannot be changed to the selected monitor layout. So it's usually supposed to just like auto fit the window size that I have it set to. So I'm just going to see if we can change it manually. We'll go into, see, it only has to go up to 1920 by 1440, which is kind of odd, but it still works. We'll just go down to yeah, that, sure. I don't know why it's doing this. This is kind of odd. It should have us. It should let us go to 1920 by 1080. We'll just do that for now. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that. That's not really supposed to happen again. That just could be something I'm getting, but not you guys. But anyway, guys, I think that's gonna wrap it up for this video. This recording is going on a bit long, so. Of course, the final edited video might be, a little bit shorter, but Yeah, guys, I think that I'm going to end the video off here. Again, I would like to thank Ken for giving me this video idea. And if you guys have any video ideas of your own, definitely be sure to let me know down in the comments below. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching and all of your amazing support. And I will see you in the next video.